Okay, guys, good morning. On the title, Twitter buyout, right? So we'll discuss a little bit on it, but before we get there, well, mainly I'll go over the technicals, right? I don't know what Elon's gonna do. Like, I wish I knew, so I would take a position, but we'll just discuss the technicals on it. But first, let's look at SPX. So we have this nice little volatile day yesterday to the upside. We went over this yesterday in the session if you attended, right? I think it was pretty useful, gave some good tips. But now, the levels today, on the gamma levels we went yesterday, some levels have changed. All right, the most important level today will be getting through 4450. If we don't get through 4450, just know it's going to be an inside day likely, right? So they're going to kill all the call buyers or put buyers. I mean, they're just going to time decay or chop it, because the implied volatility move is not as high. They're not expecting a high move based on the options pricing. All right, you can also figure these implied moves on your own if you understand options and before they even post it, right? So this implied moves is not a lot, so be careful if you're trying to play move to the upside, because yesterday, a lot of covering happened and there's still a lot that needs to happen still, right? We had this straight line from 4400 4450, and now as per the data, they're not expecting a big move. All right, so 4475 can happen. What I will be looking for today personally is something like, this is a 15-minute chart, by the way, that if we consolidate here, something happens, we come towards volatility trigger levels sometime in the day, which happens to be 44.35. So 44.35, keep an eye on it. I'll just write that down here as well for you guys. The number I'll be keeping an eye on, 44.35, the volatility trigger for a bounce, and then maybe buy 44.50 calls. All right, maybe buy 44.50 call for a chance towards 44.70 plus. That's something that I might be looking forward to. It might happen late in the day, or who knows, they might just take this market right through 44.75 and go towards 4,500. The top level target for today would be 4,500 if we get there, and then obviously 45.10. But the first main target is just holding above this 44.50. Basically holding above yesterday's price. If we start bull flagging here in the morning and we hold above it, then there's a good chance we go towards here, and then obviously 44.75, and then maybe revisit 44.50 again, something along these lines. I have no idea. But if we get through 44.75 and we hold above it, then 4,500 is possible today. All right, but today is not supposed to be a volatile day, but can it be volatile? Of course it could be. So if you're looking for a banana rally, if you're looking for a big move today based on the options data, it might not be there. So you have to be very disciplined trading your plan. All right, so around 44.35, if we get there, I would probably take a shot at 44.50 call, or maybe spy for 43 calls or something along those lines. All right, so that's what I have with gamma today. And on the weekly, I think we could make a reversal. To make a reversal on the weekly, right, we do have the 50 MA at 44.50 exact, so we can close. So we opened at 44.62, so there's a good chance that we might go towards 44.75 and make a weekly reversal and above the 50-day moving average. That's one play that I do see on a longer time frame, which is possible. However, we close underneath 44.60, then the weekly is also a kind of a bearish candle. All right, then next week we can come lower. But currently, based on the options data, based on the call and put buying, we are on an edge. There's not really much direction. The next OPEX is in May, so I think next week or the coming 2-3 weeks, earnings will probably navigate us either to the upside or to the downside. So their comments will matter a lot. All right, so that's something that I'm paying attention to. We had earnings on TSM. They did good, right? Good sales, good revenue. You guys can read up on that. And but TSM pre-market is up a little bit. A lot of call flow came in this name. Let's see today if it can actually go above 105 based on the options data flow that came in. This stock should be making at least a $5-10 move. But does it happen today, next week, or the weeks after? I have no idea. But for now, just going over the weekly candle, because today the Thursday the weekly is going to close. Can we have a full bullish engulfing candle towards 105 plus? Right, then that would be a really bullish, right? I mean, buying, chewing it up all through these levels, and then next week we see if we can get above 109, 110, or maybe today's. Sometimes stocks make the move on the earnings day, but so far pre-market is up. We might fill the gap, who knows, on the daily, and then go back up. I have no idea, right? We did scale some into AMD. I think it's at a great support zone. It's worth taking a shot. I got some spreads. Let's see how this one works out. It's sitting at a strong support, minor up a little bit on pre-market, and I think this zone continues to hold at least. And because I have spreads, I'm not worried about AMD going up too high. As long as it just builds a base around these levels, I think I will be fine, and it should do well in the coming days as long as the market holds up. And if the market does not go down, at least, then we can expect a bounce on these names also. Right? AMD has come down a lot, and it's at a very, very strong critical support. So let's see if it can bounce towards at least the 50 MA, which happens to be the 110. And today, this is a name that you want to keep an eye on as an individual stock, which might run if it gets through 100. All right, this has quite a bit of covering that needs to be done. And then Google also, we went over this in the session yesterday. I'm looking for the highs of April 12th. If we can take out the April 12th highs, that will be bullish. But today, the only number I'm looking for is a 2600 must hold level. Right, we hold about 2600 and we build above it. There's a good chance that this stock might see 2650 plus today itself. It's a possibility, okay? So let's see how that plays out. If that works, then options will go up by a lot. But 2600 will be a must hold. Or who knows, they might just make a small inside candle and kill all the premium and nothing happens. That's also a possibility. Another great strong stock out there is Amazon. It's been holding above the 50 MA since yesterday. And a nice little bullish engulfing candle, right? It took over the move of the last 2 days. And now here, what you want to see is just a continued hold above 3100. The only number that matters right here is 3100 and then 3400 next. Personally, I won't be taking any position here. I will wait because I still want to see next week. We can still see a downside. All right, we have next week we have 5 trading days, so not all of them are going to be green. I'm pretty sure we get some dips where we can adjust and buy some buy into good positions. And coming back into Twitter now. So this name, ever since April 4th, it has become an Elon Musk name pretty much ever since he took the 9% stake in it, right? The next day they took it back above the 200 MA, not much happened. They tried holding it, sold off. And yesterday, and then, you know, in MSL, some of you guys loaded calls here, congrats. Now Twitter here is completely moving on Elon Musk's tweets. And now he's offered to take the company private, but do they sell it? I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I have no idea. Maybe, who knows, maybe he will up his offer, right? Because greed always kicks in. At the end of the day, shareholders, they want their money. They don't care, you know, sometimes, most of the times. So Twitter here, simply for me, technicals I'll discuss. Twitter buying or not buying, Twitter board approving or rejecting. Both cases can be built, right? And will they will people want to own Twitter, the shareholders? Who knows? I have no idea. But for now, technically, I can tell you one thing. If we hold above 50 based on the options, if this thing builds up and Elon Musk stays popular with this name, we can probably see a spike in this name at least towards this level of 64 zone. All right, and that, for me, that's all that matters, just catching the options move. This zone right here, we can see a spike on it, and this can be fast when it happens. We discussed this last week, that, you know, it's setting up in a few days, and once that setup is there, and if I see this flagging, then we can probably see a nice little squeeze to the top. But obviously the setup has to come. It has to set up something similar to this, something like this, along these lines. All right, something along these lines I want to see in Twitter, right? Being held here for a few days and then getting bought up, and this is the move that we want to catch. All right, a big percentage move. All right, this was a $5 move on Kroger, which is huge, and Twitter will probably actually make a bigger move. I think it'll be more volatile. All right, so that's something I'm looking on Twitter. Just hold here for a few days, let the stories build up, let the options build up the model on this, and then I'm looking for a squeeze towards 60 plus 64. And that, if it happens before, that's fine. I have my leaps, but that's the play I'm looking on Twitter, and we'll use Musk as an advantage because he could offer more. One thing that can move the stock, obviously, if he says, okay, from 54.20 billion instead, maybe he wants to offer more, and maybe $62 an offer, 69, I have no idea, along one of those numbers, right? So then we see what happens. So that's my little take on Twitter. Nothing complicated, just keeping it very simple, not getting too much into it. Above 50 hold, I just want this base to build, and then we'll see the options, the implied moves, and the index, and then I'll see how to play this name. Next, obviously, Tesla went down a bit pre-market. Maybe it was on the Twitter news, I have no idea. But Tesla 1000 level, keep an eye on it, because if this happens to be an inside day on the indices and on the big tech, then Tesla is going to kill all the calls and puts that were bought yesterday. If you don't manage within the first 5 minutes, then we can definitely have a nice little inside candle, or something along these lines of April 1. We can have a little inside candle here just near the top of the range around 1,000. However, if we hold above 1,000 and we take out the yesterday's highs and we bull flag above it, then we can probably see 1,050, which is a possibility. All right. Apple also great move yesterday, and now I think if it just holds above the 50 MA, that will say a lot about it. Right. And one thing I do want to cover is the SPY 200 MA. We do have SPY right here, roughly at the 445.70 200 MA. So going through this level today will be a mission, and I think if we close just near it, that should be 60 plus on SPX, I believe, right? So 44.75, 44.70, around those levels. So keep an eye on that, and it might not be a volatile day. That's what I'm saying. So don't go chasing in calls thinking a big rally is going to happen. Can it happen? Yes. Just manage your size, work into it, and then let the setup happen before you fully jump into it, right? And if there's no trade to it, then don't trade. You don't have to trade. Stay on cash. Long weekend. Why buy positions, with uncertainty into next week? Next week, anything can happen. There's not much support to a downside based on options, so you want to wait and get some good positions in. And another thing that you want to understand is that we have earnings coming up, so don't rush. Stay patient. It'll pay off. Yesterday was the day, and we caught the entire move, and now today, let's see if it comes. If it comes, I'm pretty sure we'll catch in the group. So we'll be live on voice chat, and premium is open to everyone today. Whoever wants to join, you're more than welcome. And with this, Baba, somebody's asking for Baba and Nvidia. Sure. Baba does have a lot of options. Based on that, this name should squeeze, but again, it doesn't have to. But Baba, there's nothing for me to cover. I went over the monthly chart on this, and this name is back to 2015, 2016 levels. Right, for this name to be in play, I don't want to catch the bottom. People tried catching the bottom here. I tried catching it here myself, and then I tried a little bit here also, and now at the bottom, I understand it has come down a lot. If you're a long-term investor and you believe everything will go great with China, this could be a great opportunity. A small scale in on the equity side. Options depend on news. There's some news coming out of Baba, every week. Not Baba, but China overall, right? So playing this name is tough. It can go either way from here, to be honest. I still believe that this can come and fill this gap. Many might not believe, but I believe it can happen. I also believe that if it goes towards 120 plus, that's the first level I'm looking at. 120 and 140. If it can get these levels, that's when I will start to get maybe some positivity about Baba. But until then, it's very uncertain. I have no idea what it does. Nvidia, TSM did great. Chips names again. Inside candles are possible, right? Or maybe it fills this gap. Just be careful. We might make a small move today. If the big move is going to happen, we'll know after 1-2 hours, right? I think the market should give it to us. But you just want to stay on voice chat. Maybe just ask me about the options flow on this. I can help you and guide you with that. But Nvidia above 225 hold is must if you're looking for upside. 225. Bitcoin. If we go on the weekly chart, right, I thought that maybe it would hold 46k, but 46k was not able to hold. Right, on Bitcoin, 50 MA is very important. That's right, the blue line. On the weekly, 46k is a must for me to believe in more upside. But here, until then, it's just stuck in chops for a few months now, right? And then if it breaks below 40k and holds underneath it, then expect this support one more time, 37, 36. And I think if it comes here one more time, there's a good chance it's going to bear flag and then flush lower toward the 200 MA. Which is a possibility. All right, so I believe in the upside, but the downside also here, because clearly here it's in no man's land. It's like I can go long here because I love Bitcoin. That's one thing. Or I mean, you as a trader or whoever, you can make your bias, but technically it's in no man's land, right? And I can also draw this pattern here to give my bearish view, a nice little bear flag, right? Which is usually a deadly pattern. It usually plays out, right? So, but here it kind of didn't. But at the same time, so just be careful, right? It needs about 46k. If you're day trading it, then it's different. Then there's a lot of volatility that you can take advantage of. And with this, guys, we'll see you guys back in the chat.